populations facing mental health issues. When we think of athletes, we think of strong, independent, capable human beings that are way better than the average person. You wouldn't think that they face many struggles throughout their day to day lives, that they seem to be perfect and live a perfect life. But behind some of those closed doors, they feel pain and they feel illnesses that they tend to hide from our society. Only recently have these issues really come up to the public's eye, and our society has turned around and begun to ridicule these athletes for opening up and not having this perfect image anymore. If an athlete is seen to have poor mental health, they are usually seen as no good or no talented anymore, and they're discriminated. Then the athletes begin to believe that they aren't good enough and they don't know where to go for help, or they don't know who to turn to. This in turn makes athletes at a higher risk of jeopardizing good mental health. Coaches and athletes, friends, family, and fans all really need to become more knowledgeable of the signs and consequences of poor mental health. An NCAA counselor and consultant, Nackstead, states that most coaches have not been educated in the mental health field, and therefore they don't know how to deal with situations when an athlete approaches them or confides in them for help and needs this extra attention. Um, this kind of goes back to that education. They don't have the knowledge to help out. Um, Education should start at the middle school level. We need to begin with the kids and the athletes themselves so they know that they need help, so they can recognize it themselves on themselves, because you know yourself better than anyone. We need to introduce the idea of mental health in like our club sports and our school after school programs. That way, these children can get a better understanding, since they are going through a lot of changes at this time. At this age, they really get into the competitiveness of sports, and they'll be able to understand mental health and the stresses of sports, and they'll be able to kind of figure out what's going on inside them. I think that'll help with their maturity levels as they grow and change. I think that this education will help them learn ways to cope with their mental health and ways to reach out and seek help with family, coaches, and your peers. That's a great way to find help. According to Bowman, a sports psychologist and psychiatrist, he believes that the sport world needs to change from the ground up, that the organization is what is wrong with our society, and why this stigma of mental health in our society sees athletes with poor mental health wrong and negatively. I don't believe this is necessary. I don't think that we need to start from the beginning and rebuild our infrastructure and all of that. I think that we just need to educate our families and our athletes and our coaches better, because they don't know, or they don't have the information to be able to deal with this. When we continue our education in classes and seminars, we can address how to go about these mental illnesses. When you're feeling sad, where do you go? Who can you turn to? What can the coaches do? What can the athletes do? Where can they go? How can you talk to your friends about this? These are all things that could be really important in mental health education. In a study done in Ontario, Canada, mental health education was implemented in the schools there, and it was seen that an increase in supportive attitudes towards mental health problems increased. This was one of the largest studies done to determine if education in mental health was effective. and if that knowledge and that fight against the stigma was increasing, and it was, the stigma began to kind of go away, and our knowledge got stronger, and we were able to help our athletes and push them through all of these mental illnesses like depression and anxiety and such like that. Um, so, in conclusion, I believe that our education is where this needs to go, where we need to fix the problem. We don't need to start from the bottom. We need to take our education and build from our middle schoolers and coaches and build up to make it stronger. And so we create that infrastructure without starting over. We create those bonds between coach and athlete through the education of mental health. Thank you.